तस्मै श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापतिकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमति भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्से नमः हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्ते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्ते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So this is like the nectar. Gita says, Sarva Upanishado Gavo Bhokta Gopal Nandana Partha Vatsujir Bhokta Duktam Gita Mritam Mahat. So, this we discussed in Bhakti Shastri. But this is one section of Bhagavad Gita which comes in Bhakti Vaibhav. What is that? Battlefield of Kurukshetra. So, Prabhupada writes in a small book called as Krishna, the Reservoir of Pleasure. There are many battlefields, Battle of Plassey, Battle of Panipat. What is so great about Battle of Kurukshetra? Many people, many spiritualists, mostly who are monist or impersonalists, they ask, we are after spirituality. So what we have to do with the battlefield? Battlefield has so much of violence. It has so much of fighting, blood, bleeding. People are, the heads are cut and their whole booty is looted by the opposite party opponent. So Prabhupada writes that Krishna is omnipotent, and because he is present in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, so Kurukshetra is glorious. The battlefield of Kurukshetra becomes glorious. So similarly, in that battlefield of Kurukshetra, the recitation of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna instructs Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, and that instance after the Kurukshetra battle, not at over. Bhishma Pitama is on the deathbed with lot of arrows. Krishna appears there at the Uttarayana to bless him with his presence, so that Bhishma Pitama had got a boon that he can give his body according to his desire. So that instance comes in ninth chapter of Bhagavatam, first canto. So anything which is connected with Krishna is glorious because Krishna is omnipotent. Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's paraphernalia, and Krishna's devotees. They are can give same satisfaction as Krishna because they are in touch with Lord Krishna, who is completely spiritual. So rather than not taking much time, I'll directly go to the section of which Sanatana Dharma was taking, and we'll start. I think you have covered till 31st shloka, is it not?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So this is the last section of last two sections remaining of the 9th chapter of Bhagavatam. Purush Blue writes in his book of Unveiling the Lotus Feet. This section from 8th chapter to 16th chapter comes under the section of Lord and his devotees. There is Kunti Varani prayer, there is Bhishma Pitama, there is Dwarkavasis, and then they're welcoming Krishna. Then Arjuna and Yudhishthir. Yudhishthir Maharaj is waiting for Arjuna's departure because he has gone to Dwarka to be with Krishna, and he returns back. And the end of the Yadu dynasty is destined, so he's returning back. So till Parikshit Maharaj's birth, it is Krishna and his devotees section. So we are in the second part, that is called Bhishma Pitama's prayer. So till 31st verse, from 28 to 31st, Bhishma Pitama is trying to build his consciousness. Now for all of us are sitting in our home with fan, somebody with AC, it's cold anyways. We are at our leisure, we are at our comfortable position. But Bhishma Pitama's condition, he was a devotee. And he was a devotee, and he had taken a vow of celibacy. He was a brahmachari devotee. But he was not in any of the ashramas, in any of the staying with some brahmacharis. He was surrounded by all people who were politicians. And then, right now, the scene where we are going to is a scene where Arjuna has pierced Bhishma Pitama's body with arrows. And because Bhishma Pitama has Icha Mrityu, he is waiting for a opportune time to leave the body. When Krishna will come in front of him, then he will have his darshan, then he will go back to Godhead. But the condition of Bhishma Pitama is, with all the arrows complete missing him, the blood is also flowing, and he's just keeping his prana so that when Krishna comes, he wants to remember him, see him, and he wants to leave the body. So 29 to 32. 31, Bhishma Pitama is trying to build his consciousness in that condition. Imagine if there is one cut, something happens to our body, we are like, our whole consciousness goes to that place. What to speak of one cut? After prasadam, if there is some saps, one patta goes into our teeth, and our tongue keeps on going and touching it. We don't have any, we can't focus anymore. So that is our condition. Bhishma Pitama, his condition is the whole arrow is pierced his body. And it is such a diagnosis, was about to leave his body in 2004. And when he went to meet doctor, just 6 months before his departure, his belly was growing like anything. And his devotees took him to doctor, and doctor was trying to keep the stethoscope on his stomach and trying to figure out what is there. Then jokingly Sridhar Swami Maharaj told, what is it? Is it a boy or a girl? Now somebody is going to leave his body within 4 months, 5 months. Then a statement was made by Maharaj. How can he be so jolly? It was not jolly Maharaj. He told, what can I do? This is a body. Pain is inevitable. When you have a body, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. I have two options, either to mourn in pain, or because I can take, the pain is there for the body, but I can use my consciousness, whatever I have done till now. With that, let me focus peacefully, gracefully. Also there is pain. So same thing, Vishnu, lot of pain is there materially. But because of his consciousness, the pain, but suffering, Vishnu Pitama is not trying to suffer it. He's trying to transcend it because of his practice of bhakti. So at that position, this kind of prayers are coming out from Bhishma Maharaj, Bhishma Pitama's mind, and is offering it through his lotus mouth in glorification, remembrance to Lord Krishna, seeing Krishna's lotus face. Because Bhishma Pitama is in the rasa of chivalry. Basically, Prabhupada writes he's in service, he's in a Dasiras. And in that also, he is a fighter, he is a commander. Therefore, his whole meditation is Lord Krishna sitting on the chariot of Arjuna with his reins of 5 white horses is trying to it, and he's trying to protect Arjuna. And Bhishma's mission was to kill Arjuna, and Krishna's mission was to protect Arjuna. And not only just protect Arjuna, also give the desired happiness to Bhishma by fulfilling his vow. Because what the whole scene is, what Bhishma Pitama is recollecting is, it's a battle of Kurukshetra, 18 days, and the battle with Arjuna and Bhishma Pitama. And Bhishma Pitama is being mocked by Duryodhana. You are attached to the Pandavas. Because of your attachment to the Pandavas, Pandavas are becoming so strong and they are like winning this battle. So I want you that you should kill all 5 Pandavas. And Bhishma Pitama says, okay. He makes a special weapon, 5 arrows, to kill all 5 Pandavas. And Krishna is a super soul. He tells to Arjuna, you remember long back when all of you were in Adhyat, when all of you, after burning of the Lak Mahal, you were in disguise before all of you were in disguise. That time, not disguise, this was after the Ajnatwas. Duryodhana and his all brothers along with their wives, they had come and made a camp. They had made a camp on a bank of a lake, which was the lake of Gandharvas. And that time, Duryodhana and all his brothers and all their wives and all the women, they were being tortured by the Gandharvas, and they had caught Duryodhana and they were taking him for punishment. That time, one of the soldiers of Duryodhana party comes and approaches Vishnu Maharaj and tells, for outsiders we are 105. As insiders, okay, you are Pandavas, you are Kauravas, there is some misunderstanding, fine, but we are from Kuru Vamsha. So it's a duty to protect Duryodhana. He's a king. If Vishnu Maharaj calls Bhima, Bhima says, no, I'm going to kill him. How can I go and protect him? Then Arjuna comes, because Arjuna hears Vishnu Maharaj's instruction. Arjuna goes and fights with the Gandharva, Chitrangada. But the Gandharva was a friend of Arjuna himself. But he tells, because Duryodhana is your enemy, I'm trying to catch him and take him away. But you are coming and fighting with me only. But whatever it is, we are Kuru Vamshas. So Arjuna protects Duryodhana. And that time Duryodhana is so embarrassed. But he is a Kshatriya. He tells Arjuna, if you want the whole kingdom back, take the kingdom back. I'm ready to give now. Because Arjuna protected the life of Duryodhana. But Arjuna tells, no, I don't want anything now. When time comes, I'll ask. So Bhishma Pitama had kept that 5 arrows. And Krishna informs Arjuna, you go and ask from Duryodhana. And because that arrows are not with Bhishma Pitama, Duryodhana has taken it from Bhishma Pitama with himself, so that if you go and approach Bhishma Pitama, and Bhishma Pitama will give out of love for you, therefore it is with Duryodhana. Then Arjuna goes and asks from Duryodhana those 5 arrows. And Duryodhana gives us 5 arrows. And then Bhishma Pitama takes a vow, either I'll kill Arjuna or I will try to break the vow of Bhishma Pitama, break the vow of Krishna, that he will, Krishna had taken a vow that he will not lift any weapon in the whole battlefield. So these 2 vows are there. Either he will kill Arjuna or he will break the promise of Krishna, who has taken a vow that he will not lift any weapon in the battle of Kurukshetra. So remembering this is the whole scene. And when Bhishma Pitama starts fighting with Arjuna very, very ferociously, courageously. And at one point of time, the arrows of Bhishma Pitama become so heavy, like a torrent of rain. It breaks Arjuna's chariot, it breaks his wheels, the horses are down. At that moment, when it's eminent that Arjuna is almost going to die, Prabhupada writes, when Krishna is there, how can Arjuna die? But Lord created a situation which appeared that Arjuna is on the verge of death. At that moment, Krishna lifted the chariot wheel, and he started rushing towards Bhishma Pitama as if a lion rushes towards an elephant. And what happens is, Arjuna is Now Lord is breaking his promise to protect Arjuna and also protect Bhishma Pitama's promise. But Arjuna is bent upon to protect Krishna's promise that he will not lift weapon. This is exchange between the devotees, loving transcendental exchange between devotees. So Lord wants to please devotees and devotees want to please the Lord. Lord wants to keep the promise of his most holding the knee of the Lord. And still, without any obstacle, without any hindrance, like a lover goes towards a beloved despite opposition from society, from family, Krishna is running towards Bhishma just to show him, so this was your promise to make me break my vow. So here I have broken my vow. At the same time, protected Arjuna also, he protected Bhishma also. This is a scene where Krishna's body is pierced with arrows, blood is oozing out, his upper garment, Pitamari garment is blown off, and all the warriors opposite to Pandavas on Duryodhana's side, they are observing this beauty of Lord Krishna. And by seeing this, when they are going to leave the body, seeing this, they leave the body. Therefore, they are delivered back to God. And seeing this, Bhishma Pitama is remembering this as a meditation at the time of death because he is a devotee in Viraras. Basically, primarily in Dasaras, but secondarily in Viraras. So there he is offering this prayer at the moment of death in such a precarious condition, but his consciousness is completely very pure, clean. He remembers all this past time. Then he remembers, also takes the blessing of gopis, and then he prays to Lord. So let's start with this prayer of Bhishma. It is having a different meter, this Pushpita meter, which is not sung in an ordinary meter which we sing Bhagavatam. So all of you can just hear and try to
Prabhuji, sorry, but your voice is
Shri
breaking.
Bhishma.
I don't know if it is only for us, but it is little bit
I think
breaking.
it should be breaking because it is showing that there is. Okay, 1 minute.
Other devotees, can you please respond? Otherwise,
Yes, Guruji, it is breaking the in between last one.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Jai Shri Radhe. Hare Krishna. Shri Bhishma Vacha Iti Mati Rupa Kalpita Vitrishna Bhagavati Sattvata Punga Vibhumi Svashukam Upagate Vachid Vihartum Prakriti Mupeyushiyat Bhava Pravaha. So here, Bhishma Dev is the first prayer which is offering. He's telling, he's investing all his mind, thinking, feeling, willing, his intentionality basically. So Prabhupada writes in this purport that Bhishma Pitama was a statesman. He was dealing with all politicians like Duryodhan, Shakuni, and others. Only Vidura was the only person who was like a right-wing person among all the leftists. So Bhishma Pitama is telling, let me now invest my thinking, feeling, and willing, which were so long engaged in different subjects and occupational duties, the all-powerful Lord Shri Krishna. He is always self-satisfied, but sometimes, being the leader of the devotees, he enjoys transcendental pleasure by descending to the material world, although it is from him only that the material world is created. So, Lord is Atmaram. Is self-satisfied in Goloka, Vrindavana, in Vaikuntha Loka, wherever he is. But out of his pleasure to associate with his devotees, Sattvatas, Lord appears here. So Prabhupada writes in his purport that Bhishma Pitama was a statesman. His mind was involved in so many subjects, thinking, feeling, willing. Now, at the time of death, because his Ichha Shakti to leave body at any time, in order to achieve pure devotional service, he wanted to invest all powers of thinking, feeling, and willing entirely in Supreme Being Lord Krishna. So a word comes in the shloka that he is Sattvatam Pungave Vibhumi. Bhagavati Sattvatam Pungave Vibhumi. That refers to Lord who is the leader of Sattvatas. So Prabhupada brings application point from the prayers of Bhishma Pitama's prayers also. Now Bhishma Pitama is on the deathbed. If he has to go to Vaikuntha, then he has to go Goloka, Vaikuntha, wherever he is going to go in spiritual world. He has to be bereft of all material desires. So Prabhupada brings out that point. He's trying to tell that pure devotees of the Lord have no desire other than the service of the Lord. And therefore they are called as Sattvatas. The Lord is the chief among such Sattvatas. Bhishma Dev therefore had no desire, other desire. He was completely free from all material desires. And Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, he appears like Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. In both ways, they are the leaders of the devotees. So Prabhupada brings a point here from Sattvatas. Unless one is purified from all sorts of material desires, Lord does not become one's leader. And Prabhupada compares and contrasts here a pure devotee, Ananya Bhakta, like Bhishma Pitama, Arjuna, and a materialist who is not having any devotion to the Lord. He is a non-devotee. So how Lord deals with a devotee and how Lord deals with a non-devotee. So Prabhupada is writing in the purport. Lord personally tells in Bhagavad Gita 10th chapter 10th verse, Tesham satsayuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam tadami buddhiyogam tam enama upyantate. So if a pure devotee whose heart is constantly engaged in service of the Lord, Lord gives instruction to him. What kind of instruction he gives? He gives an instruction not for any material purpose, but for only for going back home, back to Godhead. But for the ordinary man who wants to enjoy Lord it over the material nature, Lord only sanctions and becomes a witness. Basically, for a pure devotee, Krishna, who is a Paramatma, he becomes a chariot driver of Arjuna. He's personally coming on deathbed of Bhishma Pitama because they're devotees. So the Bhagavan feature of the Lord takes precedence, the Ladini Shakti. But when people are materialistic, Lord takes the position of Paramatma, Upadrishta, Anumanta, Bharata, Bhokta, Manishwara. So he becomes like a Paramatma. So then what he does, he sanctions and he becomes a witness. And what is Antaryami? What is a witness? Whatever karma the living entity finishes at the time of death. Again, when he takes another birth, Karmana Deva Netrena, Devajantopapatte, Striya Pravishtodaram, Umsuretakanashya. That living entity is taken to another womb according to his karma. So basically, he acts like Antaryami. Prabhupada tells this in Ishwapnishad. What is our duty as an Antaryami? We may forget what karma we have done in past life, but Lord, being Antaryami as a witness, exactly gives what we left at the time of death, and starts with at that point of birth. So therefore, Lord is a leader of all living beings as a king of the state. Prabhupada brings the knowledge of king. King takes care of the prison also, and king takes care of the civilians who are paying tax also. But civilians who are aligned with the king and paying tax out of the prescribed duty, he gives them facility to be in the civilian quarters. But those are rebellious souls who are criminals, they are put into prison. The dealing of the king is taking care of both of them, but according to their desire. So Lord is not partial. Lord is not favoring someone. Lord is reciprocal. A living entity doesn't want to take instruction from the Lord. Therefore, Lord is silent in their case and he acts as a witness. But some living entity becomes a devotee. He offers his heart. Then Lord also desires the association of his pure devotees, and from them only, for them only, the Lord descends to the earth and enlivens them. But when he descends from the spiritual abode, Lord is not subjected to three modes. He is Vibhu, he is almighty, he is never conditioned, he is not forced like us, he comes at his own will. So this is what Prabhupada writes in this 32nd mantra, where Bhishma is telling, Lord appears, is a leader of both materialists and devotees as a king, but he's dealing with the devotees and he's dealing with materialists is different, but he's taking care of both of them. Tribhuvana kamanam tamalavarnam ravikara gauravaram varam tadane papurala kakula vratananabjam vijaya sakeratiras tuminma navadadya. So now Bhishma Pitama is remembering Krishna. Is remembering Krishna with connection of Arjuna. Shri Krishna is the intimate friend of Arjuna. He has appeared on this earth in his transcendental body, which resembles the bluish color of the tamala tree. Yeah, some devotee can volunteer to read this translation. When it comes to purport, some points I'll try to highlight. Someone from the audience.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Shri Krishna is the intimate friend of Arjuna. He has appeared on this earth in his transcendental body, which resembles the bluish color of tamal tree. His body attracts everyone in the three planetary system, upper, middle, and lower. May his glittering yellow dress and his lotus face covered with paintings of sandalwood pearl be the object of my attraction, and may I not desire fruitive results.
Yes. So Bhishma Pitama is a warrior devotee. He is in Viriras. So in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Lord is wearing Pitambari and a garment of Pitambari and is shining under the sunshine. And Bhishma Pitama is remembering that. So Prabhupada writes, Krishna comes by his internal potency on this world. And when he comes, he is beyond three modes. And all the three planetary systems, people are desiring his bodily beauty. Attractive feature of his transcendent body are desired in all three worlds. Nowhere in the universe are there such bodily features as those of Lord Krishna. His transcendent body has nothing to do with anything material, because Lord's body is transcendental. His beauty is unsurpassable in the three worlds. And here in the shloka, Vijaya Rate, Vijaya Sake word comes in the last line. Vijaya Sake Rati Rastume Navadya. that, okay, this Vijay Sakya Prabhupada is translating as Arjuna, who is the conqueror. Arjuna is described here as conqueror. Vijayi, he has conquered till now the Kurukshetra battle, yeah, it's over. And Pandavas have almost won. Therefore, Bhishma Pitama is telling him as Vijaya Sakya. If you see the yellow highlighted portion, you will understand why he is called as Vijaya. Here, if you see down, Arjuna was also a conqueror because Lord was his friend. Why? Jayatu Panduputranam Yesham Pakshe Janardana. So Vijaya Sakya because Krishna was his friend, therefore is called as Vijaya Sakya. So this form is remembering. So Bhishma's attraction was towards the glittering dress of Krishna and indirectly admired his so-called enemy Arjuna for possessing the Lord as his friend. Okay. Bhishma Pitama's object of worship is Krishna. Arjuna, but Krishna is on Arjuna's side. And Krishna is Arjuna's friend. So Bhishma Pitama is adoring that feature of Arjuna, that Krishna is his friend. And because Lord is pleased, now Prabhupada writes here, Bhishma Dev takes this opportunity to address the Lord as Vijaya Sakya, the conqueror. Because Lord is pleased when he is addressed co-jointly with his devotees, like Yashoda Nandan, Nanda Nandan, Partha Sarthi, so Vijaya Sakya. So Lord, although Swarat, but when it comes to the rasa part, he wants to become subordinate to the gopis. He wants to become subordinate to Arjuna and become his chariot driver. So Prabhupada said these are the humor, this is the dealings of Lord with his devotees. While Krishna was the chariot of Arjuna's, the sun rays was never forgotten. The glittering reflection of the sun rays on the body of Krishna was not forgotten by the Bhishma Dev. As a great fighter, he was relishing the relation with Krishna in chivalrous humor. Transcendental relation with the Lord in any of the different rasas is relishable. So Prabhupada brings a point here that Bhishma Pitama is in a servitorship, in a Dasaras. In that he is in Viryaras, secondary rasa. So many of the so-called people, Sahajiyas, they directly jump to the conjugal love, imitating the damsels of Brajadam. But such cheap relation with the Lord exhibits only the base mentality of the mundane. And they don't understand because they are attached materially, shows that they are trying to imitate the conjugal dress, which is condemned even by the mundane ethics. But the eternal relation of a particular soul with the Lord is evolved. So it's glorifying Bhishma Pitama's relation. A genuine relation of the living being with the Supreme Lord can take any form out of the 5 principal rasas. And it does not make any difference in the transcendental degree to the genuine devotee. Bhishma Dev is concrete example of this. It should be carefully observed how the great general is transcendentally related to the Lord. So basically, Bhishma Dev is glorifying Krishna in relation with Arjuna, and he's remembering his glittering pitambari in the sunshine on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna holding the reins of chariot of Arjuna. So next shloka. Yuddhituragarajo vitumbra vishva kuchalulita shamavari alankratasye mama nishita share vividyamana tvachi vilasat kavache stu krishnatma. Yes, and devotees can read.
Hare Krishna. On the battlefield where Sri Krishna attended Arjuna out of friendship, the flowing hair of Lord Krishna turned ashen due to the dust raised by the hoofs of the horses, and because of his labor, beads of sweat wetted his face. All these decorations, intensified by the wounds dealt by my sharp arrows, were enjoyed by him. Let my mind thus go unto Sri Krishna.
Yes. So the main theme of this shloka Prabhupada writes is Bhishma Devi is lamenting, is repenting. Now imagine somebody is a devotee and we go to the temple, we bring fruits, we bring flowers, we offer it to the Lord. But Bhishma Devi is a devotee and he is feeling the Lord has appeared and I am with my fierce shooting of arrow just to break his promise. I have pierced my arrow through his skin. and the whole body is bleeding. Therefore, Prabhupada says that Bhishma Pitama is repenting the actions. If you see here, highlighted in yellow. This is one part. The second part is that Bhishma Dev is appreciating the mercy attitude of the Lord. The shloka tells that Lord Krishna is impartial. He is neutral. When Bhishma was attacking Arjuna, and Arjuna was in a very precarious condition, Krishna tried to protect Arjuna, despite he had taken a vow of not fighting. And on the other hand, Bhishma was causing that inconvenience Arjuna, and he had behaved ill-treated Lord Krishna in the battlefield. But still, after the battle, when Bhishma Dev is on the deathbed of arrow bed, about to leave the body, Krishna is appearing on the scene. That means, like most of us, if we have some tussle with someone, especially when between two families or two people, sometimes the tussle goes for lifelong. There were two comedians in US 30-35 years back, and they were best friends. And suddenly, at some point of time, they had come together for a group interview. And then there happened to be some misunderstanding, and for next 30 years, they did not speak, just for some misunderstanding. And later on, because the first friend was trying to do some social service in terms of trying to help some people who are speechless, then that information went to his friend. Then for a cause of doing social service, because both of them interested in that, then they came together for 30 years. But when it comes to Lord is transcendental. He is very simple. Krishna, he is Lord, but he wants to appear in Vrindavan with no shoes, with simple pitambar dhoti, with minerals applied as ornaments for him. So that is the condition of the Lord. So Vishnu Pitama is appreciating the all merciful attitude of the Lord. When Arjuna was left alone, he wanted to protect him. And the object was causing Arjuna, was trying to kill Arjuna, the Bhishma, and he ill-treated Krishna by piercing the arrow. He did not mind the ill treatment, but he was ready to come and give audience to Bhishma on the deathbed of the arrow. This is the merciful nature of the Lord, which Bhishma Pitama is telling. Therefore, while highlighting in yellow here, Bhishma's repentance and Lord's merciful attitude are both unique in his picture. So Bhishma is repenting that he is trying to pierce Lord's body with arrow. But Prabhupada says Lord's body is not plain at all, because his body is not made up of matter. And Lord Vishnu, in his incarnation, appears before us. He seems like conditioned soul, materially engaged. But why appears like a materially engaged, although is transcendental, to bewilder the asuras, or the non-believers who are always alert to kill the Lord. Like Kamsa wanted to kill Krishna. If the demons don't pursue Lord as material, how they can think of killing him? Therefore, Lord, to bewilder them, he appears to be material in front of their eyes. And these are the two things which Prabhupada is trying to bring out from here. So Vishwanath Chakravarti comments, Bhishma Dev's fighting and piercing the arrows on the body of Krishna. He says that the wounds created on the body of the Lord by the sharp arrows of Bhishma Dev were as pleasing to the Lord as biting of a fiancé. When a lover and beloved, in their intimate moment, sometimes they bite each other's body, the blood may come, but they don't mind. Similarly, Krishna and Bhishma, they are connected in love. And Bhishma Pitama is trying to fight this to please Krishna. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Pad is trying to give this analogy that it's nobody takes it as an enmity, but it is like ignored. Similarly, fighting as an exchange of transcendental pleasure between the Lord and his pure devotees. Sri Bhishma Dev was not at all mundane. Besides that, Lord's body and Lord are identical. There was no possibility of wounds in absolute body. And then Prabhupada brings a point called as Vividyamana is significant. What is the meaning of Vividyamana? In our case, when a weapon touches our body, when a knife cuts our body, blood starts flowing. But from Vishwanishad we learn that 8th mantra of Vishwanishad, Tat Chukram Apapaviddam Asna Viryam, Lord is Swayambhu, Yata Tata Yata Ratan, Vedadat Shashvatipya Samabhya. A word comes there. Lord is Akayam. Lord is not having any cross body. Lord is not having any subtle body. And he is Apapaviddam and Asna Viryam. He has no veins. So when our skin is cut, the blood oozes. But when Lord's body is cut, no blood oozes because he has a transcendental body. Because everything in the mundane world is qualitatively mundane. It is full of inaverities. In the absolute realm, everything is same absolute nature. There are varieties of enjoyment without inaberity. The Lord enjoyed the wounds created by his great devotee Bhishma Deva. And because Bhishma Deva is a devotee, in the chivalrous relation, he fixes up his mind on Krishna in that wounded condition. Because in Viryaras, and what Kshatriyas want, Kshatriyas become very powerful when they see blood coming from their body. They become more ferocious, more powerful. So when Bhishma Deva is seeing Krishna with blood flowing from his body, that is the object of his meditation at the time of leaving his body. Sapadi Saki Vacho Nishamya Madhya Nija Parayor Balayor Ratam Niveshya Sitavati Parashainikayurakshna Ratavati Partha Sake Ratirmamastu. Yes, can read the translation.
Hare Krishna. In obedience to the command of his friend, Lord Sri Krishna entered the arena of the battlefield of Kurukshetra between the soldiers of Arjuna and Duryodhana. And while there, he shortened the lifespans of the opposite party by his merciful glance. This was done simply by his looking at the enemy. Let my mind be fixed upon that Krishna.
Yes. So here Bhishma Deva is remembering that pastime where both the Kauravas and Pandavas are there, and all the Kauravas party soldiers and Pandavas party soldiers, they are able to see Lord, and they are getting the merciful glance of the Lord. And 3rd canto, 1st chapter, a shloka comes. Parthastaputa Padma Purasya. By when Arjuna was trying to hit arrow to the enemy party, and when the arrow of Arjuna was going inside the body or chest or the navel of all the soldiers, it was piercing them, it was purifying them. And then they were seeing the lotus feet of Krishna with all this sweat, blood, and remembering seeing this, they were also chivalrous. Prabhupada writes here, because all the soldiers were in Viryaras, in terms of they were all chivalrous, they saw Krishna in this form and they left the body, and therefore they got delivered. That is what Prabhupada writes here. So what Prabhupada writes is, Lord is not an order supplier. Here is Bhishma, here is Drona. But Arjuna, at the beginning of the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he gets bewildered. He is acting like getting bewildered, and he tells Arjuna tells Krishna, take this chariot in between the two parties and I want to see who are they. And then Krishna takes like order supplier of Arjuna. He's taking the reins. He's going in between the two armies, and Krishna is pointing towards the Kauravas and telling, here is Bhishma, here is Drona. And Prabhupada writes in the comment, Lord being the supreme living being is never the order supplier of or order carrier of anyone. He doesn't have to doesn't have to obey somebody's order. He's supreme. However, he may do it. Why Lord carries order? When he sees there is prema or pure bhakti, affection of his pure devotees, out of his causeless mercy and for affection for his pure devotees, sometimes he carries out the order of a devotee like an awaiting servant. He becomes a night watchman of the Pandavas. 1st canto, next chapter will come, 11th chapter, where Lord is becoming a messenger, Lord is becoming a night watchman, Lord is becoming a security guard of all the Pandavas, because Pandavas were pure devotees. By executing the order of a devotee, the Lord becomes pleased, as a father is pleased to carry out the order of a small child. This is possible only out of pure transcendental love between the Lord and his devotees. Bhishma was quite aware of this fact. He therefore addressed the Lord as a friend of Arjuna, Vijayasaki. The Lord diminished the duration of life of the opposite party by his merciful glance. Battlefield of Kurukshetra attained salvation by personally seeing the Lord at the time of death. This is what is also spoken in 3rd canto, 1st chapter. So, Arjuna's enemy does not mean that he was partial to the cause of Arjuna. Now, Krishna was present on the battlefield of Kurukshetra on the side of Arjuna's chariot. That means, was he partial to Arjuna? Prabhupada is bringing a point here. Because Arjuna was a devotee, therefore Krishna became his chariot driver and he wanted to just carry out his order. But that doesn't mean that Lord did not benefit the opposite party, that is Kauravas or others. Because other party, which was soldiers who were there, they got salvation by seeing the Lord. And therefore, Prabhupada makes a point, Lord is always good. Here was a chance to see the Lord at the time of death by the soldiers of the Kauravas and thus attain salvation from the material life. Not only Kauravas, even Pandavas, because Pandavas soldiers are also seeing the Lord at the time of death. Therefore, the Lord is all good. Someone can read this last line till yellow. From here.
Apparently, it was for the victory of Arjuna, his intimate friend, but actually it was for the good of Arjuna's enemies. Such are the transcendental activities of the Lord, and whoever understands this also gets salvation after quitting this material body.
Yes. So the Lord does not wrong in any way circumstances because he is absolute all good. That is the meaning of absolute truth. So whatever happens in anybody's life, that is good for that devotee. That is what Prabhupada is trying to write here. Next shloka. Vyavahita pratana mukam niriksha svajanavadat vimuksha dosha buddhya umati maharad atma vidayas charanarati paramasya tasya mestu. Yes. Devotees can read. One devotee
Hare
can
Krishna,
write it.
Pranam Prabhuji.
Wonderful.
Translation. When Arjuna was seemingly polluted by ignorance upon observing the soldiers and commanders before him on the battlefield, the Lord eradicated his ignorance by delivering transcendental knowledge. May his lotus feet always remain the object of my attraction.
Yes. So here Arjuna seemingly polluted by the ignorance. What is that? Arjuna is bewildered when Lord takes him inside the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the both sides. Arjuna is seeing Drona, here Prabhupada writes here, as it is evident from battle of Kurukshetra. Drona, Bhishma, Arjuna, Duryodhana were not sleeping, all of them were actually participating in the fight. So Prabhupada what is saying is, nowadays in the war, the main president of any country is sitting inside his cabin in AC room, and he sends the soldiers are drafted and they go and fight with the soldiers of the other country. But in those days, the fight was the kings and the commanders were to stand in the front of the fighting soldiers. The commanders used to stand. If you see the battle, that whole photo of Kurukshetra battlefield in Bhagavad Gita, page it comes, all the commanders are standing and behind them the soldiers are standing. And that is how the commanders are trying to fight directly. But presently in Mount Kali Yuga, commanders are sitting in their cabins and poor soldiers, mercenaries, they are trying to fight on their behalf. This is one point Prabhupada brings here. Second point Prabhupada brings here is that when the fight is to happen in those days, the citizens, the fight used to happen at a place which was away from the civil place. The battlefield was in such a way that none of the innocent citizens should be killed. And citizens also were not bothered because they were very clear. Whatever winning party is there, they have to pay tax for that, 1/4 tax. And therefore, they also were very bindas. Anyway, whoever comes a king, only thing, whether he will be dharmic king or adharmic king, that is another thing. But from the point of view of their economy, whoever was a king, they had to pay tax 1/4 to them. Therefore, Prabhupada is writing, innocent citizens were immune from all effects of fighting. They were to pay 1/4 of income tax, income to the ruler, and there was no business in saying what was going on to happen during such fighting, because whether Arjuna or Duryodhana, they had to give money to someone. That is what Prabhupada writes here. And second thing Prabhupada writes here is, he was not at all afraid of the giant military phalanx presented by Duryodhana. When Arjuna goes and sees the opposite party, Arjuna was not fearful seeing the army. But Arjuna, being a devotee, he is naturally accustomed to renouncing the material things. And therefore, it was natural for him not to fight. Already we have seen this in Bhakti Shastra Bhagavad Gita. 5 reasons Arjuna gives. But this is quoted in the shloka. Arjuna's unwillingness to fight this battle is quoted as intelligence is polluted. But his intelligence could not be polluted at any time because he was a devotee and constant company of Krishna. Therefore, Bhishma Pitama is telling that Arjuna unwillingness to fight, showing like that his intelligence is polluted, was actually not polluted. But Lord Krishna wanted to give Bhagavad Gita for the good of all polluted conditions. And therefore, he made Arjuna's intelligence become apparently polluted. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita was delivered to the conditioned souls to deliver them from the wrong conception of identifying the body with the soul and re-establish their eternal relations with the Supreme Lord, Atma Vidya, or transcendental knowledge of himself. Was primarily spoken by the Lord for the benefit of all concerned in all parts of the universe. So this is what Bhishma Pitama is praying. Next, 37th. Swanigamamapaya mata pratidnyam Rutamadhikarattvamavaplutarastha Dhrutarato charano payachalakur Haririva hantum ibam gatotariya. Yes.
Fulfilling my desire and sacrificing his own promise, he got down from the chariot, took up its wheel, and ran towards me hurriedly, just as a lion goes to kill an elephant. He even dropped his outer garment on the way.
Yes. So Prabhupada starts the battle of Kurukshetra was fought on the military principles. But the Kshatriyas, as I told, when they see the blood, they become they have a sporting spirit. So therefore, in the daytime, they're fighting. In the night time, like they're coming together, meeting each other. So as I told the past time, that Bhishma taking 5 arrows, that is here. Prabhupada gives the purport here. Already I told in the beginning. Bhishma therefore promised that the next day he would kill all 5 Pandavas' special weapons. Duryodhana was satisfied and kept arrows with him. By tricks, Arjuna took the arrows from Duryodhana, and Bhishma Dev couldn't understand that this was the trick of Lord Krishna. So he took a vow that the next day Krishna would have to take up weapons or his friend Arjuna would die. And the whole scene goes. At the time, Lord Krishna wanted to please his devotee Bhishma by keeping Bhishma's promise, which was more important than his own. Therefore, Krishna broke his promise. But Krishna broke his promise to protect Arjuna. The broken wheel of chariot, he took it and started charging towards Bhishma like a lion charging towards elephant. During that, his uttari, the upper garment, fell off, and all the blood spots, sweat. Sorry, there's a call. So, which was decorating his hair, Bhishma was seeing at it. And Bhishma at once gave up his weapon and stood to be killed by Krishna, his beloved Lord. And Arjuna was trying to drag him from behind. So Arjuna, there was no possibility for Arjuna to be killed because Lord was himself on the side of the chariot of Arjuna. But because Bhishma wanted to see Lord Krishna take up some weapon to save his friend, the Lord created a situation making Arjuna's death appear imminent. He stood before Bhishma to show him that his promise was fulfilled and that he taken up the wheel. So Krishna did 2 things here. Saap bhi mar gaya aur lati bhi na toota. What happened is Arjuna was saved and Bhishma's promise also got fulfilled. But what Lord did, he broke his promise. So Pratijani he ma partha name bhakta Pranashati, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, he protected, he saved the promise of two devotees simultaneously by this pastime. Shita Vishikahato Vishirna Damsha Shataja Paripluta Taino Me Prashabam Abhisasaram Davadartam Sabhavatu Me Bhagavan Gatir Mukunda. Yes, some devotees can read this translation.
May he, Lord Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who awards salvation, be my ultimate destination. On the battlefield, he charged me as if angry because of the wounds dealt by my sharp arrows. His shield was scattered and his body was smeared with blood due to the wounds.
So Krishna in that angry mood, Bhishma Deva is remembering that form of the Lord. His shield was scattered and his body was smeared. His shield was scattered and his body was smeared with the blood due to the wounds. So Prabhupada writes, dealings of Lord Krishna and Bhishma Deva on the battlefield of Kurukshetra are interesting because the activities of Lord Shri Krishna appear to be partial to Arjuna and at enmity with Bhishma Deva. But factually, all this was especially meant to show special favor to Bhishma Deva, a great devotee of the Lord. It appears that Krishna is taking Arjuna's side and he is enemy of Lord. But actually, Bhishma Deva wanted to fight because that was what pleasing Krishna. Although Krishna was on Arjuna's side, he's a friend, and Bhishma is on the opposite side, but Krishna also has a desire to fight, and Bhishma Deva fulfilled that desire. To show special favor to Bhishma Deva, great devotee of the Lord, is that Krishna started running towards him. This astounding feature of such dealing is that a devotee can please the Lord by playing the part of an enemy. So Bhishma was playing the part of enemy and Lord was being pleased. And Lord is called as Ajita, unconquerable. So nobody can become Lord's enemy and harm him. But Lord is Ajita, nobody can become an enemy and harm him. But still, Lord takes pleasure when his pure devotee beats him like an enemy or rebukes him from a superior position. Although no one can be superior to the Lord. These are some of the transcendental reciprocation dealings of the devotee with the Lord. And those who have no information of pure devotional service cannot penetrate into the mystery of such dealings. Basically, those are non-devotees, impersonalists, Mayavadis, they cannot understand. So Bhishma played the part of valiant warrior and he purposefully pierced the body of the Lord so that the common eyes it appeared that the Lord was wounded. But factually, all this was to bewilder the non-devotees. The Lord's all spiritual body cannot be wounded and a devotee cannot become enemy of the Lord. Bhishma, they would not have desired to have the very same Lord as ultimate destination of his life. Because Bhishma Deva wanted somebody in a chivalrous ras, Partha Sarthi. But he did so, the warrior devotee wanted to see the transcendental beauty of the Lord decorated with the wounds created by a pure devotee. That Bhishma Deva wanted to see the beauty of Krishna wounded in that particular way. So this was exchanging transcendental rest on the relation between the Lord and the servitor. But such dealings, both Lord and the devotees become glorified in the respective position. So Lord was so angry that Arjuna checked him when he was moving towards Bhishma. I told you that Arjuna was grabbing his leg, but he proceeded towards Bhishma as a lover goes towards a lover without caring for his entrance. Apparently his determination was to kill Bhishma Deva, but factually it was to please him, a great devotee of the Lord. So Bhishma Deva prays that ultimate destination of his life be the Lord in his personal feature. But other conditioned souls, the impersonalists, desire salvation from him. But Bhishma Deva is remembering Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra with sweat, with tears, with his upper uttari flown over. And many of the impersonalists cannot understand what is so glorious about the battlefield of Kurukshetra. But only devotees can understand this glories of Kurukshetra battle. Vijayarata kutumba ata tatore datahayarasmin tachshri ekshaniye Bhagavati ratirastu me mumurshut yamahiya niraksha hatagata swarupam. Yes.
Translation. At the moment of death, let my ultimate attraction to be Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. I concentrate my mind upon the chariot driver of Arjuna, who stood with a whip of his right hand and a bridle rope in his left, who was very careful to give protection to Arjuna's chariot by all means. Those who saw him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original forms after death. Hare Krishna.
Yes. So here, Bhishma Deva is offering prayer. This is almost at the point of death, that he wants to see Krishna's form, and all the charioteers and all the soldiers on the battlefield, they attained their original forms after death. So Partha Sarthi, this is a vision of Partha Sarthi, Krishna with his rope in his whip in his right hand, with the horse, the bridle rope in his left hand, and he's trying to beat the horses and trying to maneuver them towards through the whole battlefield. And Bhishma is seeing this picture of the Lord, seeing this. This is his meditation, and the opposite party, Kauravas, they also could see. So Prabhupada writes, Bhishma was more fortunate than Arjuna, because Arjuna was seeing only the back of Krishna, but Bhishma was seeing from the front, and therefore he was able to appreciate the beauty. So Prabhupada begins the purport. This is the main theme of this purport. Prabhupada comes in between. But Prabhupada starts telling that pure devotee of the Lord constantly sees the presence of Lord within himself, because of his salve of love. Brahma Samhita says that those all devotees who are having the salve of love, they can always remember the Lord. Such a pure devotee cannot forget the Lord for a moment. This is called as trance. So Prabhupada compares yogi or a jnani. For him to come to trance, he has to do so much of Ashtanga yoga, especially Ashtanga yoga, 8 limbs of yoga. Then he comes to trance. But a devotee, by constantly remembering the Lord's personal feature along with his holy name, fame, pastimes, because they are omnipotent, they are not different from the Lord. They can purify it. So therefore, concentration of the mystic yogi and that of a devotee are not at the same level. Why? Mystic yogi's concentration is mechanical, Prabhupada writes, and pure devotee's concentration is out of pure love and spontaneous affection, because he has a loving affection for the Lord. And Bhishma Deva was a pure devotee, and as a military marshal, he constantly remembered the battlefield feature of the Lord as Parsarthi. And Prabhupada says, this Parsarthi, pastime of the Lord, is eternal. Not only that, pastimes of Lord Krishna from the childhood till the Mausha Leela, till the Anta Leela of the Lord, are happening repeatedly in all different universes, one after the other. And therefore, they are eternal. And not only that, Pandavas and Bhishma, they are constantly accompanying Lord in the particular pastime of fighting on the battle of Kurukshetra. This is happening eternally. And so Bhishma Deva never forgets the beautiful feature of the Lord as Parsarthi, which even Arjuna could not see. Arjuna was behind the beautiful Parsarthi, while Bhishma was in front. As far as military feature of the Lord is concerned, Bhishma Deva observed this with more relish than Arjuna. And as far as soldiers concerned, battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original spiritual forms after their death. This we have already discussed. So Prabhupada concludes, the conclusion is that whoever dies looking on the personality of Godhead within, like Ashtanga yogi or a devotee, Lord may not be there in front of him, but is just remembering him in meditation within. Or for a devotee, like in case of Bhishma Pitama, when Lord is coming without, in both the cases, by the remembrance, a devotee can achieve the highest perfection of life, that is going back to Godhead. Lalita gati vilasa valbhuhasa pranaya nirikshana kalpito rumana kritamanu kritavatya unmadadanda prakriti magana kilayasya gopavadva. So now, Bhishma Pitama till here is remembering Sakya friend, Sakyaras, that is Krishna with Arjuna. But he's not just stopping there, because even higher than Sakyaras is Madhurya Ras. So Bhishma Pitama is appreciating Lord's pastimes with the gopis in Vrindavan. Yes, someone can read this translation.
Let my mind be fixed upon Lord Sri Krishna, whose motions and smiles of love attracted the damsels of Rajadham, the gopis. The damsels imitated the characteristic movements of the Lord after his disappearance from the rasa dance.
Yes. So therefore, Prabhupada, what he writes in the purport is, in case of Arjuna, Arjuna is at Sakyaras. But gopis in the Rasa Leela, they almost had the same footing with Krishna. So Bhishma's aspiration to remember the gopis is a prayer to have their mercy also at the last stage of life. And therefore, when his pure devotees are glorified, like when Krishna is remembered with Arjuna, Krishna is remembered with the gopis, Krishna becomes happy, or is named after them. So Bhishma is trying to remember the gopis, and therefore Bhishma Dev has not only glorified the acts of Arjuna, his immediate object of attraction, but has also remembered the gopis who are endowed with unrivaled opportunities for rendering loving service. The gopis' equality with Lord should not be misunderstood like the Sayujya Mukti of the impersonalist. The equality is on the perfect ecstasy, where the differential conception is completely eradicated from the interest of the lover and the beloved. So Bhishma is telling here, the Prabhupada writes here purport. The relation of the Lord with Arjuna is undoubtedly praiseworthy for the devotees like Bhishma Dev. But the relation of the gopis with Lord is still more praiseworthy because they're still more purified. And then Prabhupada writes, Arjuna was fortunate enough to have the Krishna as his protector and chariot driver. But Lord did not award Arjuna with the equal strength. And he awarded whom? The gopis practically became one with the Lord by attainment of equal footing with the Lord. So what is this one? This comes in Ishopanishad, mantra 6, mantra 7. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmayeva bhuta vijanatah tatra ka shokana moha ekatvam anupashyata. Prabhupada writes there, this ekatvam is not the ekatvam of merging into the Brahman. This ekatvam is ekatvam of quality. So Jiva Goswami gives, he quotes from Tattva Sandarbha, there is sun, there is sun's membrane. When you go to the sun globe, you heard this example of sun globe, sun rays, and sun god. Sun god is Bhagwan, sun globe is Paramatma, and sun rays is Brahman. But Jiva Goswami quotes another example to make us understand the oneness. What is oneness means? Sun is Lord Krishna, the planet sun, the sun. And over the planet sun, for many kilometers, there's a thick membrane of fire and light. And then when it comes to the earth planet, there is rays, sun rays. And then the sun is reflected inside the water pot. So there's a reflection of the sun, there's a sun rays, and there's a thick membrane of the sun. So Jiva Goswami says the source of this membrane, the source of his rays, the source of the reflection is the sun. The sun is compared to Krishna. The membrane is compared to the Antaranga Shakti, the Ladini Shakti. And the sun rays compared to Tatastha Shakti, the Jivatma. And the reflection is compared to the external energy, that is Bahiranga Shakti. So Shakti, Shaktiman, Krishna, from him Antaranga Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti, and Tatastha Shakti are emanating. So he is the source of all the Shakti. So in that way, this Shakti and Shaktiman are one. That he is the support, he is the foundation of that Shakti. So now, when Bhishma Dev is telling that Lord and gopis have an equal footing here, these gopis, they are under the Ladini Shakti. Radharani is herself the Ladini Shakti personified. And therefore, they are Shakti Shaktiman. And therefore, that equal footing is given here, showing that Shakti is coming from the Shaktiman. And in that way, with Achintya Vedavet Tattva of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are one. They are not one that they are merging, but they are one in the sense that Shaktiman is the source of Shakti, and in the personified exhibition of Bhakti, for example, sun is having heat and light, but the membrane of the sun has heat and light almost same as the sun. But the Jivatmas, who are like the sun rays, their Bhakti Shakti is not like the membrane. and therefore they are different in terms that their heat and light is less than the sun in the sun membrane. And the reflection, the Bahiranga Shakti, the material world, the practice of bhakti is almost difficult. The matter is dead matter. So from that point of view, the Antaranga Shakti and the Lord, they are one in the sense that it facilitates the remembrance of the Lord. It facilitates the pleasure of the Lord. It facilitates the pastime of the Lord. And Arjuna, being Jivatma, also is an eternal associate of the Lord. But still, when compared to the gopis and Radharani, his stature is little less. And therefore, this is the meaning of equal footing which is mentioned here. So this is in terms of interest. They are trying to serve. The Lord is trying to serve the devotee, and the devotee is trying to serve the Lord. In family, everybody has the same interest. They want to take the family ahead. That doesn't mean that everybody has the same body, everybody's physically same. That is not the thing. That ekatvam, which is being spoken here, is a ekatvam of interest and ekatvam of quality. That is not of merging together. So last but two shlokas. Muni gana nripavarya sankulyanta sadasi udishta rajasuya yesham arahanam upapeda ikshaniyo mama drishi gochara yesha viratma. Yes, devotees can read. One devotee can try to volunteer to read this one.
Translation. At the Rajasuya Yajna, sacrifice performed by Maharaj Yudhishthir, there was the greatest assembly of an elite men of the world, the royal and learned orders, and in that great assembly, Lord Sri Krishna was worshipped by one and all as the most exalted personality of Godhead. This happened during my presence, and I remember the incident in order to keep my mind upon the Lord.
Yes. So Lord Yudhishthira Maharaj, in order to glorify the Lord, he arranged a Rajasuya sacrifice. And in the Rajasuya sacrifice, whoever came to the Rajasuya sacrifice, Prabhupada writes here, the Brahmanical class and Kshatriya class. In English, the great philosophers, religionists, physicians came. And there's no mention of the Vaishyas and Shudras. But they were all invited. But Lord Shri Krishna was the cynosure of the neighboring eye. Whoever had come, apple of eye of all the people who were participating in the Rajasuya Yajna was Krishna was the center. So everyone wanted to see Lord Krishna, and everyone wanted to pay his humble respects to the Lord. And Bhishma was also present there, and he's remembering all this, and was glad that his worshipful Lord, the personate of Godhead, in the Rajasuya Yajna, who got Agra Puja, and Bhishma also as a devotee, it's a feast for him also, Manso Mahotsavam, to see the Lord being worshipped as a Agra, giving the Agra Puja. The same Lord, he has appeared before him in actual formal presence at the time of his death. But actually, time of death means Bhishma is preparing to leave his body, and Lord gets to know about it. And Lord, along with all the Pandavas, he comes towards the deathbed of Bhishma Pitama. So to meditate on the Supreme Lord is to meditate on the activities, forms, pastimes, names, and fame of the Lord. That means Lord is omnipotent. So in most of our cases, like Bhishma is a very fortunate person. He has Ichha Mrityu and Lord Krishna is personally coming to him for the services he has done. But for those of us, devotees may be next to us, but it might happen that when at any moment we can leave the body. There is no guarantee, as sure as death. But that death doesn't come knocking on the door that I'm going to come on this and this day. It can happen suddenly. So what is the hope for us? So Prabhupada writes here, highlighted in blue, if we can meditate on the activities, form, pastimes, names, and fame of the Lord, that is easier that what is imagined as meditation, the in person of the Supreme, that is meditating on the Leelas, pastimes of the Lord, name of the Lord, activities and qualities that helps us to think of the Lord. And that is a remembrance which we can remember at the time of the death, when our death comes. And then what will happen? Like Bhishma Pitama is being elevated to the spiritual world, similarly we can be elevated to the spiritual world. And Prabhupada is comparing this with impersonal worshippers who try to deny the form of the Lord. It's practically no meditation, simply a waste of time, because they simply just go into void. but Lord's pastimes are easily approachable by the devotees. And this is indicated in the shloka that Lord Shri Krishna was actually present before human society in the battle of Kurukshetra, accepted as a great personality of time, and he person is coming in front of Vishnu Pitama, and therefore misleading because a man after his death. Prabhupada is trying to tell that don't think that Krishna was some so-called great personality and he was made into great personality and God. No. So one should not make God, a normal man, into the great personality, or God into a normal man. So present day, what Mayavadis do, they themselves declare that they are God, normal man to great personality, and they decry Lord Ram, Lord Krishna. Atheists anyway don't believe in Lord Ram, Lord Krishna, or any form of the Lord. But Mayavadis also join their party, the impersonalists also join their party by decrying the form of the Lord, by not accepting it or telling it to be mundane. So Prabhupada is trying to warn the devotees in that direction that one should not do, in a human society, one should not try to do such a thing. The last shloka of Bhishma Pitama's prayer. Tam imam aham ajam sharira bhajam riti riti dishtitam atma kalpitana Pratidrashamiva naikadarkamekam samadhigatosmi viduta veda moha. So Bhishma Pitama on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, on the bed of arrows, this is the last sound vibration coming from Bhishma Pitama before leaving the body. Tamimam ahamajam sharira bhajam Riti riti dishtitam kalpitana Pratidrashamiva naikadarkamekam Samadhigatosmi viduta veda moha. So after this prayer, Bhishma Pitama becomes silent. This is the last prayer on the bed of arrows, with his arrows piercing through his body and blood flowing out from it. And he is about to depart after this prayer and fixing the glance on Lord Krishna, who has dressed as a Kshatriya and has come as a king of Dwarka in front of Bhishma Pitama. Yes, someone can read this.
Now I can meditate with full concentration upon that one Lord Shri Krishna now present before me, because now I have transcended the misconceptions of duality in regard to his presence in everyone's heart, even in the hearts of mental speculators. He is in everyone's heart. The sun may be perceived differently, but the sun is one.
Yes. Okay, some devotees, some other devotee can read the purport. This is the last prayer of Bhishma Pitama, and Prabhupada gives a very, very wonderful purport. So I not highlighted anything, I just kept it.
Lord Sri Krishna is the one absolute supreme personality of Godhead, but he has expanded himself into his multiplanetary portions by his inconceivable energy. The conceptions of duality is due to ignorance of his inconceivable energy. In Bhagavad Gita 9.11, the Lord says that only the foolish take him to be a mere human being. Such foolish men are not aware of his inconceivable energies. By his inconceivable energy, he is present in everyone's heart, as the sun is present before everyone, all over the world. The Paramatma feature of the Lord is an expansion of his plenary portion. He expands himself as Paramatma in everyone's heart by his inconceivable energy. And he also expands himself as glowing effulgence of Brahma Jyoti by expansion of his personal glow. It is stated in Brahma Samhita that Brahma Jyoti is his personal glow. Therefore, there is no difference between him and his personal glow, Brahma Jyoti, or his plenary portions as Paramatma. Less intelligent persons who are not aware of this fact consider Brahma Jyoti and Paramatma to be different from Sri Krishna. This misconceptions of duality is completely removed from the mind of Vishmadev, and he is now satisfied that it is Lord Sri Krishna only who is all in everything. This Enlightenment is attained by the great Mahatmas or devotees, as it is stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.19, that Vasudeva is all in everything, and there is no existence of anything without Vasudeva. Vasudeva or Lord Sri Krishna is the original Supreme Person, as now confirmed by Mahajana. And therefore, both the neophyte and the pure devotees must try to follow in his footsteps. That is the way of the devotional line. The worshipable object of Bhishmadev is Lord Sri Krishna as Parthasarthi, and that of the gopis is the same Krishna in Vrindavan as the most attractive Sham Sundar. Sometimes less intelligent scholars make a mistake and think that the Krishna of Vrindavan and that of the battle of Kurukshetra are different personalities. But for Bhishmadev, this misconception is completely removed. Even the impersonalist object of destination is Krishna as the impersonal Jyoti, and the yogi's destination of Paramatma is also Krishna. Krishna is both Brahma Jyoti and localized Paramatma. But in Brahma Jyoti or Paramatma, there is no Krishna or sweet relations with Krishna. In his personal feature, Krishna is both Parthasarthi and Shamasundar of Vrindavan. But in his impersonal feature, he is neither in the Brahma Jyoti nor in the Paramatma. Great Mahatmas like Bhishmadev realize all these different features of Lord Sri Krishna, and therefore they worship Lord Krishna, knowing him as the origin of all features.
So this is the conclusion of Bhishma Pitama's prayers. Remembering this, in Uttarayana, Lord Krishna himself comes to please for the pleasure of his devotee, and Bhishma Pitama departs. Suto yuvacha Krishna evam bhagavati manova drishti vrittivi atmanni atmanama veshya sovantas vasa uparamata. Yes, Prabhu. Can read the translation. Someone can read the translation?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Madan Mohan.
So Govinda said, thus Bhishmadeva merged himself in the super soul, Lord Sri Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead, with his mind, speech, sight, and actions, and thus he became silent and his breathing stopped.
Yes, when it is being told here, he merged into the super soul. It is merging is not of the soul merging the super soul, but basically it is like his consciousness is completely absorbed on Krishna. The Prabhupada writes here, the state attained by Bhishma while quitting his material body is nirvikalpa samadhi. He merged himself into thinking of the Lord. That means his merging is of thinking of the Lord by engaging his mind in remembering the Lord's different activities of speech, in chanting the glories of the Lord, his sight in seeing the Lord, basically Niveda Bhakti. Therefore, Prabhupada writes here the Niveda Bhakti that this is the highest stage of perfection attained by the practice of devotional service. The Bhakti, Niveda Bhakti is of hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the lotus feet, worshipping, praying, executing. So one should not misunderstand that this unique situation at Bhishma Dev's time of death can be attained even though Lord Krishna may not be personally present. This was what I was highlighting. Bro, can you read this one? From here. Madan Mohan, can read this one.
Unique situation at Bhishmadeva's time, at death can be attained even though Lord Krishna may not be present, personally present. His words of the Bhagavad Gita are those of Srimad Bhagavatam are identical with the Lord. They are sound incarnations of the Lord, and one can fully utilize them to be entitled to attain the stage of Sri Bhishmadeva, who was one of the 8 Vasus.
Yes. So Prabhupada, right? Every man or animal must die at certain stage of life. But one who dies like Bhishmadev attains perfection, and one who dies forced by the laws of nature dies like an animal. Prabhu, can you unmute yourself, Madan Montu? So that is the difference between man and animal. The human form of life is especially meant for dying like Bhishmadev. So Bhishmadev is departing here. This is compared by Prabhupada in Chaitanya Charitamrita. In Antalila, passing away of Haridas Thakur. So Prabhupada writes a comment there in Chaitanya Charitamrita Antalila, where Haridas Thakur is not able to chant his rounds, and then Mahaprabhu comes and sees and gives him prasad, and Haridas Thakur just touches the prasad and just takes a speck, and he's telling, I've got a disease of not completing my rounds. And then Mahaprabhu said, no, you are already, your age as you are old. Why you taken the, you have chanted sufficiently, you become a namacharya. So now we can reduce some rounds and you can peacefully take prasad and take care. Then the Haridas Thakur, he prays in front of the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that actually your pastimes are going to end. Before you end your pastimes, I want to depart from this world. So kindly bless me that in this condition, by seeing you, your lotus face, I can depart from this world. So Haridas Thakur, at the moment of death, he sees the lotus face of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And seeing the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he departs from this material world. And after his departure, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally takes his body and takes it to the Bay of Bengal ocean. Near the Samadhi of Haridas Thakur, if you go that ocean, Bay of Bengal sea is there. There he personally bathes his body, and personally, along with his associates, he digs the Samadhi place for removing them. He takes out the mud to make Samadhi of Haridas Thakur. And then with all the rituals, he establishes Samadhi of Haridas Thakur. And next day, he personally goes with his associates to the market and does madhukari and begs from all the merchants for cooking feast for in the memory of Haridas Thakur. And personally, Lord oversees that. And when the prasadam is cooked, he feeds all the devotees, especially Paramananda Puri and Brahmananda Bharati. They eat till the neck. And Mahaprabhu in this way glorifies Haridas Thakur and tells, like the way Bhishma Pitama, who had a Ichcha Shakti, Ichcha Mrityu, he left his body. Similarly, Haridas Thakur left his body. And therefore, this is a parallel from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Like the way Bhishma Pitama left body, Haridas Thakur had Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in front of him. Bhishma Pitama had Krishna in front of him. But what is in front of us? We have Krishna Swadhama Upagate, Dharma Dhyana Visaha, Purana Arko Dunodita. That Lord Bhagavatam is present in front of us. Chaitanya Charitamrita is present in front of us in the sound vibration. And Krishna's holy name, form, everything is present in front of us. Therefore, we can tune into Krishna's channel. Because Krishna is omnipotent. Krishna's name, form, qualities, pastimes, everything is omnipotent. We can get tuned into any one of the limbs of bhakti and be connected to Krishna through the sound vibration. Okay? So, Sampadayamanam Ajnaya Bhishmam Brahmani Nishkale Sarva Baba Babu Uste Tushnim Vayam Shiva Dinatyaye. Knowing that Bhishmadev had merged into the unlimited eternity of the Supreme Absolute Truth, all present there became silent like the birds at the end of the day. So Prabhupada speaks about Dhyanis, Bhaktas, and how Bhaktas, Dhyanis want to merge in Brahma Jyoti, but Bhaktas, Bhishmadev as a pure devotee of the Lord, entered the spiritual realm in one of the Vaikuntha planets where the Lord is Lord in his eternal form of Parthasarthi predominates over the unconditioned living beings, that is pure devotees who are constantly engaged in the service of the Lord, the love and affection of which bind the Lord and devotee are exhibited in the case of Bhishma Deva. Bhishma Deva never forgot the Lord. In his transcendental feature as Parthsarthi, the Lord was present personally before Bhishma Deva while he was passing to the transcendental world. That is the highest perfection of life. Tatra dundavayo nedur devamanavavadita sasamsho sadavaratnyam katapetu pushpavishet. The flowers, the drums, the demigods, and the mortal people from this Bhumandala, earthly planet, all started beating their drums. Thereafter, both men and demigods sounded drums in honor, and honest royal order commenced demonstrations of honor and respect. That is, Yudhishthira Maharaj, he felicited Bhishma Pitama by at the end, and from the sky fell showers of flowers. So Bhishma Pitama was respected in human beings and by demigods. And Bhishma took the vow of, I will not marry, I'll remain an ascetic brahmachari. So the demigods told Bhishma, therefore he was famous not only among humans, but also among demigods. When he fought the battle with Parshuram, Parshuram also could not defeat him. And therefore Parshuram told, okay, when the Ambika wanted to marry him, that time Parshuram also could not defeat him. So that was the glory of Bhishma Pitamaha. 1 minute, I'll just share the screen. Tasya nirharanadini sampare tasya bhargava yudhishthira karayitva muhurtam dukito bhavat. So Yudhishthira was very upset because Bhishma was such a loving grandfather, not only materially, but also such a pure devotee. And he always, after the departure of Pandu, Vidura and Bhishma, they were like the backbone for the Pandavas. And therefore, Yudhishthira's lamentation on the departure of Bhishma Pitama is like the Jagannath Puri Vasis, when Haridas Thakur left his body, they did not depart, they lament for the death of the body of Haridas Thakur. But such a wonderful Vaishnava, he is not present among us who had set such a high standard. Similarly, Yudhishthira Maharaj also feeling that such a wonderful Vaishnava like Bhishma Pitama, he was feeling separation from him. So Prabhupada writes here, as a devotee of the Lord, he knew that the Lord's devotee cannot be vanquished at any time. Maharaj Yudhishthira was quite aware of all this good wishes of Bhishma Dev, and therefore he must have been feeling the great separation. He was sorry for the separation of great soul and not for the material body which Bhishma Pitama relinquished. The funeral ceremony was necessary duty. Although Bhishma Dev was liberated soul, that was necessary. Since Bhishma Dev was not without issue, the eldest grandson Maharaj Yudhishthira was the rightful person to perform the ceremony. It was a great boon to Bhishma Dev that an equally great son of family undertook the last rites of a great man. Therefore, son is called Putra, who can liberate a person from the poo planet of Naraka. But in this case, Bhishma was a liberated soul, Yudhishthira was a liberated soul. So Prabhupada is telling that Yudhishthira must perform this ceremony. Therefore, Bhishma was fortunate, and Bhishma and Yudhishthira Maharaj was fortunate because he had a grandfather like Bhishma Pitama. Therefore, he is not lamenting for the body, but for the absence of that soul's guidance and his presence in his life. Then, Tastur Munayorashta Krishnam Tat Kuya Namabi Tataste Krishna Hridaye Swashraman Prayayopuna. All the great sages and glorified Lord Shri Krishna who was present there by confidential Vedic hymns, then all of them returned to their respective hermitages, bearing always Lord Krishna within their heart. Like Bhishma Pitama remembered Lord. Similarly, the purpose of all Vedic literature, Prabhupada says, the purpose of all glorification is Krishna's remembrance. Therefore, Prabhupada writes here at the end, all Vedic hymns are chanted to please Lord Krishna. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Vedese sarve rama vedyo vedanta vit vedavit vedakrit vedavit vedham. All the Vedas, Upanishads, Vedanta, etc. are seeking him only, and all hymns are for glorifying him only. Sages therefore performed the exact act suitable for the purpose, and they happily departed for their respective hermitages. Todo Yudhishthiro gatva saha Krishno vajavayam pitaram shantvayam asa gandharim cha tapasvinim Thereafter, Maharaj Yudhishthira at once went to the capital Hastinapur, accompanied by Lord Shri Krishna, and there he consoled his uncle and his aunt Gandhari was an ascetic. So Kurukshetra battle is over. Kauravas have, all the Kauravas had left their body. Only Duryodhana, which is broken knees, is lying. Bhishma also has departed. So as an elderly Kuru, Yudhishthira Maharaj is going and consoling Dhritarashtra and Gandhari because their 100 children are killed. And their elder Bhishma Pitama has departed. And Gandhari was a powerful ascetic. Prabhupada says, although she was living in a life of faithful wife and a kind mother, said that Gandhari also voluntarily blindfolded her eyes because of the blindness of her husband. A wife's duty is to follow the husband 100%, and Gandhari was so true to her husband that she followed him even in his perpetual blindness. Therefore, in her action, she was a great ascetic. Besides that, the shock she suffered because of the wholesale killing of her 100 sons and her grandsons also was certainly too much for a woman. But she suffered all this just like an ascetic. Because she was ascetic, because of her austerities, she could tolerate that. Suffering, pain is inevitable, but the suffering is optional. So Bhishma Pitama as a man and Gandhari as a woman, they're setting the standard. Gandhari, although woman, is no less than Bhishma in character. They are both remarkable personalities in Mahabharata. So many times people say, in the Vedic tradition, the women are given a downtrodden position, they are disrespected. But Prabhupada is quoting from Bhagavatam here and putting Gandhari in the same equal footage with Bhishma Pitama. The gopis are having equal footage with Lord Krishna. So therefore, we can see bhakti is such a process. In other processes, jnana, ashtanga, and karma, the gender matters. But in bhakti, irrespective of gender, irrespective of varna, ashrama, and gender, one can advance in bhakti. A person who is a grahastha can bless a sannyasi. A Mataji can bless a sannyasi because she is spiritually advanced. That's what Prabhupada is writing. This is last shloka. Pitra chanmato raja vasudevan moditaha chakara rajyam dharmena pitra paita maham vibhu. After this, the great religious king Maharaj Yudhishthira executed the royal power in the kingdom strictly according to the codes of royal principles approved by his uncle and confirmed by Lord Shri Krishna. So Prabhupada writes, Yudhishthira Maharaj was not just a mere tax collector. He was not like a general who was sitting in cabin and sending his soldiers to fight, but he was concerned with the upliftment of the people. Like 6 questions have been asked by the sages for the upliftment and the welfare of the people in general. Similarly, Yudhishthira Maharaj's goal was that not only he, the whole Praja should achieve perfection of their life at the end of life. So Maharaj Yudhishthira followed these principles strictly. Not only did he follow the principles, but he also got approval from his old uncle, was experienced in political affairs, and also comforted by Lord Krishna, the speaker of philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. So Maharaj Yudhishthira is ideal monarch, and monarchy under a trained king like Maharaj Yudhishthira is by far the most superior form of government, superior to modern republics or governments of the people, by the people. Mass of people, especially in this Kali Yuga, are all born Shudras, basically low-born, ill-trained, unfortunate, and badly associated. They themselves do not know the highest perfectional aim of life. Therefore, votes cast by them actually have no value, and thus persons elected by such irresponsible votes cannot be responsible representatives like Maharaj Yudhishthira. Hare Krishna. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport for 9th chapter of 1st canto Bhagavatam, the passing away of Bhishma Dev in the presence of Lord Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Upasit Gaur Bhaktivedanta ki jai. So yesterday I got a call from Sanatan Danru, but he is bedridden. So therefore, I could not prepare much, but whatever I could prepare, I just presented. Mostly when I take the next session, chapter 12 onwards, we'll again meet. And I hope and pray that Sanatan Danru gets recovered quickly, and next week he's able to continue from the 10th and 11th chapter. Okay, this was an emergency situation, therefore I had to speak. I will take another session after Prabhuji from the 12th chapter onwards. Hare Krishna. I have a train to catch now at 4:30 back to Pune. So I'll quickly move now. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much for your patience.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna.
for taking class today.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.